Hey folks, Nick Tuckert here with the Historical Fencing Guild. Before we get into this week's conversation, we are going to talk a little bit about what keeps the lights on. Man, my hair's a mess. Sorry about that. I just got in from Walmart and boy, are my arms tired. No, boy, are my legs tired. However, we are made possible with the generous support of our good friends over at the Independent Creator Directory. That's IndieCD.org, your one-stop shop for the best of the brightest authors, musicians, creatives, all where you can find hosting for yourself as an independent creator, and you can find support because it's made for creators by creators. A low cost of $40 will get you a lifetime membership, a web page setup that's maintained, taken care of. You can't find a better deal than that. You won't have ads shoved down your throat. So I'm proud to be part of that. Now, we're also made possible by my wonderful Patreon patrons. These good folks are the ones who pay some as little as $1 a month to allow me to keep the lights going and keep the lights on. They are, I know I ask this every week, but it can be very financially straining on me to buy new trainers. You guys wanted me to review swords. You want me to review trainers. You want me to get armor for some. Some of the locals need gear, and they're not going to be able to get it themselves. It is a tight time for everybody. So I appreciate dearly the people who are helping me. And that's Off in the Woods, Frog G, Ronald Rain, Bladed Thesis. He has since changed his name. I need to change that again. Brian K. Morris, Cindy Kep, and Steve Augusto, the OG. These fine folks come together. Now, most of the time when I do something and I say I want to do it for you, they tell they tell me make it public because that's what you do. But something is coming in the works. In the following weeks after the 13th, which is next Saturday, I will be starting, weather permitting, a new series of videos where I'm going to, instead of it being a 1 hour quick and dirty, I'm going to do a long-term, broken down, step by step. This is how to sword fight. I may be trying to enlist the help of some others to allow me to present this. I will be making that available solely to the Patreon members. So if you want the full breakdown of, first we're going through the simple sword, then we're going to go through some of the other weapons and styles I do. I'll probably do companion videos to the simple spear and the fighting axe, my manuals, which I'll be mentioning later. But along with that, you guys can expect, I want to start a series of long-term reviews where I have a lot of trainers that I have had for years. I haven't gotten around to reviewing them individually properly so that I can put it on their channel. But I'll be doing that so that we can assign it to the comments, review, etc. for the purchasing of assorted items, and do that as a source and as a resource for those folks who are interested in such. One moment. I had a mini M&M and it melted in my hand, which they're not supposed to, but they do. I guess I'm just that hot. Anyway, with that, we're also, I'm going to be starting and doing some videos on basic leathercraft in the very near future, as my hands are slowly getting to a point where I can trust them for certain physical activities that I've had to put off due to the health and the relative weakness. I am trying to build them up so that possibly I can do some leather making videos for you. I expect Patreon members expect a new poll in the very near future about what you guys actually want. I may make it public. I may make a public poll and send it out to here, patrons and I may do one each, see what the active patrons want and what you guys who aren't patrons yet want. Now, I know there are some people who, for reasons, have issues with Patreon as a way to support people, and that's fine. If you want to just donate money relatively direct, paypal.me/Nicholas Stockard. I will definitely give you a private thank you. And if appropriate, I will give you a very public thank you to help me do what it is I do. Now, we also, if you go to Purple Heart Armory, and unfortunately my delivery it wasn't in today, so it'll have to be next week, and use $click equals 1745 when you go through, that will track the traffic. And if you buy something using this code, I will get 2% of however much money you spend, which is not much, but it's enough to keep interactions between me and Christian Dorst, lubricated, so that they know when I say, hey, this weapon is an item of interest. There isn't really a good trainer. Can you make one? I'm debating doing that as money avails. We will be visiting PHA because there are some sales that might be of interest to you guys that I saw a little later. And of course, as I have mentioned, my books, which are available on Amazon, and the ones most relevant to this are, of course, The Simple Sword, 15 years of training and study and digging through manuals to make the art of swordsmanship something that you could understand simply. The Fighting Axe, a sequel/addendum, just briefly taking what you learned in this and how you can apply much of it to the Fighting Axe, and The Simple Spear. All of these are special. Now, I may be doing something different with the covers and tweaking them in the very near future as well, but right now I am in the middle of my second horror novel, which, while it has nothing to do with the Historical Fencing Guild, Hates and Hellfire is a great read. I'm very proud of this book, and there's a new version, a sequel in the works. I'm 25,000 words into it, so it's good. It's getting good. And I have a few other books, including the Big Stompy Robots line of books and games, which I will be talking about. Also want to remind you guys that Saturday, April 13th, I will be in Cherville, Indiana for RegionCon. And if you look up RegionCon2024.com, I believe, you can see the information for that event. It is free to attend and $10 if you wish to participate in games other than demos like Big Stompy Robots. So you can come see me, have custom art done, and you don't have to pay for anything but what you give the vendors. In November, I will be at LodgeCon, and we are tentatively trying to do a small gaming con in Fowler, Indiana in September. So we will see about that. So that's all my build-up stuff. I do need to talk about some stuff, but I want to hop through the comments real quick, and then we'll probably scoot over to PHA, and then we'll talk about some current events in the sphere that we travel, a little bit of spice, and a little bit of historical. I often talk about the weapons that people carry in different points of history, but understanding the tools and how they affect the weapons is an interesting thing. So I have an item I've acquired that is a reproduction of a fairly historical tool. I'm very pleased to have one of these. I've been after one for quite some time. But I also will have the Youth Longsword Trainer in, theoretically, according to the United States Postal Service, tomorrow. So I am excited. I did not opt for the expensive grip. A part of me regrets that, but it went way over what I was planning to pay on it anyway. However, I've been chasing it for so long. We'll see. And it may be something I need because with dealing with the weakness in my hands, I may need to be able to use both hands to manipulate a given weapon. Again, we will see. But first, let's hit the comments. And boy, do we have a lot. Okay. Okay. And at 6:35, sneak, 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 bum, bum, bum. Our own Cindy Cap came creeping on in. What are you sneaking in about? You know you're welcome here. And then at 7:25, everything okay? I guess so. Anyway, sorry, I heard a crash, but it really did have that silverware sliding sound. So, sneaking into an empty room. Wait, sneaking in an empty room to up your sneak. It works. Yes, practice. You can hear yourself. Yes, practice your arts of ninjutsu and other stealth practices. I'm here for it. I'm not sure what my class is. There is a suspicion that, according to fifth ed, I would be a Way of the Kensai monk. It's close to at least this aspect of myself. The problem is I'd have to be multi-classed, and then the scaling is way off. So we'll see. But Cindy Kep says I'm an expert at sneaking into empty rooms, just like I have mad ventriloquism skills when wearing a face mask. That's still something. That is still something, and I think that's worthwhile. And simple swords and simple spears fighting axes coming through the thinning veil to stop big stumpy robots. Amazon.com/store/ Mr. Nicholas Anthony Tuckert II. Author BO7P26PSF3. And find my snazzy art at deviantart.com/NickT. There's actually quite a bit, and expect another art dump coming in there. And guys, please like, share, and subscribe to this video. If you haven't already, because we are technically on the arc involving weapons and martial training, sometimes we get lumped in algorithmically with some rather troublesome folks. So the algorithm does tend to squash me a bit. It is just part and parcel for what I do. So anything you can do to get the word out is greatly appreciated. And that's the link to this show, which always causes a spasm, from our own Romana the Third. Tune into the Historical Historical Fencing Guild every other Friday night at the Historical Fencing Guild over on YouTube. That's us. And Tea and Weapons on youtube.com/@belatedthesis. He had a staggeringly interesting discussion on names. And while I may not fully agree with it, it was an interesting discussion, and I value those. And don't forget to support Nick's efforts to be safely dangerous at patreon.com/the-historical fencing guild. Thank you for all that promotion. We now return you to your previously scheduled program. Wasn't much masking around, not much masking around here anymore. Wasn't much when it was mandated either. And Cindy says, yeah, well, I have roomies who include a cancer survivor and a heart patient, and I have a brother with an immune system malfunction. So any precaution I can take was a good one. Absolutely. Oh, we did it. Lots of people. Oh, God, I'm very sorry. There is a storm coming through. It's just wreaking havoc on me. A pressure front coming through. Oh, we did it, but lots of people around us didn't. I didn't care about the dirty looks. Well, you still have to you take care of yourself. I still mask when I get sick. I figure it's better than passing it around. Had a sinus infection last month and masked in public, so as not to share. Makes sense to me. And Cindy says, I will at work when someone's near me hacking like a 5-pack a day smoker or sneezing brain cells. I understand that too. And Thesis has his shirt company up, bonfire.com/the Tea House shirt. Buy a shirt, rep the brand. Awesome. Swapping my hats and closet around. Winter stuff goes to the back, summer stuff to the front. Highs are solidly in the 70s this week. I have no idea. I have no idea on any given point what the temperature is going to be. We literally are alternating between the 30s and the 70s. Ping, 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 ping. The headache game is so real. And the pressure's doing another dramatic shift, which is why I'm suddenly yawning. And all my joints will go, we're not working. But you watch, it'll all get tweaked around. We'll get hit by another snowstorm. Yep. We were mid-high 60s this week, but today and tomorrow is very windy. It will be low 40s tomorrow. Ooh. And, of course, that's the day of my cousin's wedding. I hope that's not an omen for their marriage. I don't think so. I heard that rain on your wedding is supposed to be a good sign. Yes. Bladed thesis? Is it bladed thesis anymore? I need to file the corners off of some of my square two-its. I understand that too. Don't change the name just yet, Nick. As you wish. And Kitty says, looking forward to hearing what you think of the Han Jin trainer you sent thesis. And so am I. It's nice having someone able to buy something so I can see if it's worth it. Who sent that to what? Who sent thesis a trainer? I showed it. I don't know if I sent it because I am rather tight, having purchased a couple things that will matter. But so clear that up for me, please, because my brain is kind of squirrely. Y'all confused him. Yes, they did, Johnny. And while that's going on, because if I said I was sending a trainer to thesis, I'm obligated to, and it just completely fell off my mind. But I know I thought about doing it, but I didn't want to get in trouble. Let's see. Where am I going here? Oh, I know where I'm going. One moment. First stop, I have to go here. I have to new window. Normally, I would do this, but let's see. Present, share screen, and window. Boom, boom. There we go. Cool. And let's see. Bonfire thesis. We got new comments. Hey, Johnny. Hello. Oh, the link you sent him, not a physical one. Yes. I want to hear about I sent him a link for the trainer, and that's something I want to talk about because I did order it, and when that gets here, I will be happy to review that as well. I just happened to get a deal, and I did order it because I wouldn't have sent it to you without me knowing it was actually good first. I sent you the link. Okay. Whew! I wouldn't put past me to do such a thing, but let me hide that and go to PHA and look, question mark click equals 1735. Now I want it, let's see, new and upcoming. No, that's not what I wanted to do yet. I wanted to go deal of the day. Okay, I have not read Das Ortenberger book, but that is a very good price for, being half off. This is one I wanted to mention. There are a couple people who like Philippine martial arts, which I believe is where pranks come from. This is not a bad deal for a light trainer, especially at $15. So if you're looking for a light machete style trainer or two, because there are 6 of them, that's not and oh no, I would never presume that you spend money on me. If it is decent, I will just have to save up and get one. I have been known to do stuff for people who need it. But thank you. You'd be amazed how many people expect me to front for them. But I wanted you guys to see this because I know a few people like machetes, and given that the slight drag to the leading edge, this is going to flow real smoothly. So Screama guys are going to, that is empty, are going to absolutely love it. And again, anytime I can find something where they've knocked $5 off, padded Screama with $10 off, now 210. So this theoretically, and again, I don't have the funds, but would be the ideal gloves for our own syndicate. They do exist in extra small. You just have to find, them. Again, if I win the lotto, I won't tell folks, but there'll be signs. The Dan Bong octagons, if you want to do, again, that's dual Screama thing, and you want to buy sticks, you can get these, which aren't bad for getting because it's laminated hickory, which is kind of nice. That 1x20 baton at 1 inch, that's actually much more interesting to me because I could do shenanigans with such a thing. Now they're using it for Fiore. The series of staffs made of 2 layers of impact grade laminated together. That's interesting because that's going to 20 inches is one of those magic lengths of stick where you really can do a lot of things if you know how to flow with it. And these are the extra large gloves at 210 that I would be tempted to buy. But again, 210 is more than I care. I see that's the problem. 200 for a longsword for Bohurt, but I can't recommend Bohurt. It's a little, I have some people who do that sport and equivalent, and I respect them highly, but that's beyond my tolerance for pain line. Now let's see. I need to check real quick. Basic trainers, because finding something new is always challenging. He is putting together for an exceptionally large price the Dragon Slayer, which is very much based on the character Guts. What is that show? Not Ragnarok. What is the name of that anime? Berserk. So for those of you looking to get your cloud fix, this could be an intriguing item. I'm not sure about. It will be interesting to see if he can make something that can fight with and hold that much stress. However, 350 is far more. Again, I can get inexpensive trainers for about between 5 and 10 students, depending on the pricing of something like that. And let's see. Oh, we've got some other comments. Berserk, thank you. And the rope dart video I shared last week had some interesting trainers, but they were all a bit more than I'm willing to spend on training weapons. Exactly. And with the nature of rope dart, I don't think you would really need 2 advanced level of trainers unless you're planning to do actual concussive work. I still can't believe that these Saber and book kits are here and they're still at these prices, sub $100. These are probably some of the best deals in martial arts. There was something I wanted to show you guys, so I got to go through for a little bit. Johnny here. This was one for Johnny to make people twitch. Does that make you happy, Johnny? Is that edgy enough? It's got everything that could be wrong with the sword right there. It's got points sticking back. It's got an axe and a sword. This should delight you. But there was something I saw popped up. Yes, there's a Keyblade trainer. No. Just no. I don't really like to show them unless because there are a couple more swords that are out. Unless I see them in full, I don't mind saying this is Civil War officer's saber in the 3D rendering. I'm sorry, the CAD that he probably uses to cut his stuff out through his laser cutter. That looks like a really nice, very simple design. And if I were shopping for me, let's see. Overall length, see, that's my problem. He's got the wrong length because that can't be 14.75 inches. So I don't think it's set up yet. But if he makes one like this, I may be tempted to get it and request that he puts a bit of guard and turn it into a small sword. But there was something I wanted to show you guys, and I can't remember. So I'm going through. I'm waiting for the Krieg Messer, but I want the long grip. If you want to go, I was asked if you want to go full Drizzt. I think that the Samshir with this rig would probably be best for going full Drizzt. I would be tempting. Now that I recently acquainted myself with the shipping costs, the shipping for most of these swords is about $20. Oh, there is nothing. Oh, and Foxy says many edges, and there's nothing wrong with the wooden rondel daggers from Purple Heart. They are amazing. And, let's see. Yes, this is what I was looking. We actually have pictures of the Jin with the Ming Guard and the King Guard. So I think if Thesis were to order trainers for himself and Foxy or someone else for raw functionality, he'd be hard pressed to beat these. They aren't flexible, but they are. They're going to provide enough to do the job. So the great question being, which trainer do you like better as your guards? So do you want them up or down? And I realize, I'm sorry, I left that comment up. So this isn't a bad situation to get into. I like either of these. I could make both of them go, obviously. But there is going to be a youth one, which I find very interesting. Because that's got to be shorter. Let's see sizing. Blade length, see, it says 20. If this is really 23-inch blade, 30-inch body, which it easily could be, eyeballing that, again, that would fit me very well. I'm short relatively. I get that. But Foxy actually may really like that, and there are actually 2 reviews. Let's see. Thank you for making a youth-sized Jin trainer. I've been training seriously with this weapon since 1990, teaching kids for almost as long under a famous master. These synthetics are excellent product, durable, well-balanced. You could feel the cuts. The price is right for parents. I highly recommend these Jin for your students. Yes, it's solid shipping information. Does it give me any shipping? No, I don't need your answers. No. So, but if you were going to order for Foxy, given the range and reach, I think the Jin Ming style youth trainer would probably fit her nicely. There are still a few that I am intrigued by. I will tell you that the Dossics are some of the most useful. If you want a basic curved hand protected trainer, you can't do much better than the Dossics. And hey, Trey, you missed a few announcements that I might be bugging you with, but we'll see. Because I think, for the purpose of Trey, I think that we are going to have to get together when you have some time off and do a full shoot breaking down the simple sword over multiple episodes so that we can really instruct it and adapt it. And then that's going to be a Patreon exclusive, possibly with purchasable downloads. We will see. But this beauty, unfortunately, with the purple rat, with the paracord rat, and had I realized, I would have clicked here and been so much happier. But will be in probably tomorrow for me. What's wrong with the options listed? Do you not like the blade shape? Do you not like the guard orientation? What's bothering you about those as a trainer? What lengths of the blade? These guys have 26-inch blades, and they're 26 and a half inch blades and 36-inch overall, which means this is going to fit me really nice. And I would love to see Trey practicing with piercers now that I've some education. I have a bit of concern of finger break with the piercers, but the grin that just went across my face, absolutely. The irony is, Trelanis, being one of my students and one of the greatest fighters I've ever known, she, like me, shares a deep love for 17-inch, 18-inch blades. And I've been watching an anime of late called Spy Family. And whilst watching one of the characters on said anime, your Fortune, go through her assassinations and stuff, I realized that she has like the Hitten Mitsurugi version of Trelana's fighting style. And I find that rather delightful. But yes, one of these is coming in. I had to chase these down incredibly hard. And yes, okay, let's see. My hands twitch a lot. I smack my collarbone from time to time, so skinny, spiky thing on my hand doesn't sound like a good idea. I shall leave those to others. I respect that. I respect that a lot. Okay. If you have Disney or Hulu, it is on Hulu, and you can watch it for free. Well, I mean, watch it if you have those services. If not, check with your local libraries, because you just need to watch that. And I know this isn't supposed to be the kind of show where yes, piercers, yes, because getting what you do, I can see with the Daption, the piercers could be a lot of fun for you. They're just hard to make trainers of. Let me see. I am horribly tempted to get the Bearded Axe trainer on principle, but that's just me. And I would love, I still, only, Ooh. I'm going to have to ask if he can put a discard on that after tax time. After tax time, I'm going to commission one of those, I think. Because I love me some Odachi action, and I love me some see, this is what I'm supposed to order. I need to order a few of these. Well, I need to order at least one to test it, knowing I'll probably love it. Ooh. You could always use them like judges' pens. Yes, absolutely. Well, it's not that different from Kobutons, so yeah, we can make Go. I see. That's why I'm asking. I don't have my. Wait a second. Hanjin, don't they have the flatter guards? I'm trying to remember. I'll have to look it up again. I am at core a European fencer. To me, the greatest my sword would be a was it 1783 Spanish broadsword, Spanish colonial broadsword. It has a lot of names. It's been called the Bilbao. I kind of love those little dudes, but I would love one in heavier uh, gear. So yes, talk to Trey. Maybe we can set up a order of goodies, and you can bring those out and actually have somebody to practice against with to keep them safe. Because, like I said, I have fear that if you use them combatively, of finger damage from that ring. So we'll have to see. But I want to go through some of these because the other thing I have found is PHA loves to put things on sale and not tell you till you scroll through and find it. Like I didn't know the CX trainer is on. It's only a couple bucks off, but that is on sale, and that's not a bad price. Blocking strength trainer. Interesting. I will have to find out what that's about because I think I get what it is, but it intrigues me. So that will be very, very interesting. See, this is why I scroll through. And the other thing is sometimes you'll find one of the trainers like the Mycenaean Greek dagger. Okay. That tip is a little aggressive, but that's got a 12-inch blade. That's not bad at all. As nearly any dagger. The Bolognese trainer. That's sexy for me. It makes me happy. So what you do now, okay, Scotchfield Dirk. Want to see something. Sizing 18, and it has a 13-inch blade. This is for absolute minimum short knife work, that could work too. Let's see. But they are fun to spin. And I could possibly alter the design to better protect the fingers if need be. Well, see, I'm worried about the leverage being on a single finger if it hits. But I don't know. We'll have if we can get one over to us, to Trey or me or somebody, we can review it and talk about the style and what would probably work best. Now, please, I know I focus on the basic trainers over here a lot when his if we go synthetic swords, his higher end trainers are amazing, but they're also significantly more expensive than many people can tolerate. So that's why I don't own the Pentimesser version 4. And it's also why I don't own their the Kriegmesser version. Because I do love a good Kriegmesser. Where is the Kriegmesser? Let's try this. Well, see, sometimes things will come up. Type 2 petty, disc pommel. No Kriegmesser. Now, had I the money, I would be tempted to get the synthetic longsword pack because that drops it down to $67.50 a piece. But I can't afford to do something like that. So I don't. I do prefer the synthetics over some of the other options. SCA is based on rattan, and I have to check that price. That might not be a bad price. But the I'd like to know the legality of that too, because these spear rigs are very nice. But these are steel, and I know that these guys would not be used in anything SCA, but they may be used in Bohurt. Lighter saber. I am fascinated by like the gymnasium saber. This interests me because I'd have to see what the flex is. Okay. SCA flex test. Really? I need to find out what company where this is legal, because that's good. That is a beautiful design. Probably only for cut and thrust, but good Lord Almighty! And it's got to be cut and thrust because there's no real pommel, just a nut. That's a weapon of refinement. Will meet SCA standards. Actually, I need to, I'll take that and I'll tweak it so that it has my credit, because I need to send that to some people who will desperately need it and have the money to look into such things. But let me look at something. No, European martial arts, daggers, weapons, ancient. Could we please behave? Thank you. I've been keeping an eye. Well, does he have needle? Oh, okay. That's adorable. The water dance. Anyway, we're going to take a break from that, and we will just bring me up. Oh. LARP bucklers. Hold on. Well, at the stage. Let me see. The LARP bucklers here. On. Oh, okay. We'll start with everything on top should be fine. The steel bucklers would work with steel rapiers, but we want to keep steel and steel. From PH, LARP bucklers. I'll have to look at them because I am. Let's see. Scabbards. Let me check something real quick. Okay. These style of scabbards, friends, please do not purchase these style of scabbards. Okay, a few more products under the bucklers will do. But these guys are a very basic style of leatherworking. And the best way to do that, to acquire this for under this price, not counting shipping, is to go down to Goodwill and look for a leather purse that you can butcher. And, maybe a couple belts. You'll just need a rivet or two. And it really looks like that's only 3 rivets total in back. You should be able to make something like this. And if you can't, we will talk. Now you tell me. Now I tell you what. Oh, not to necessarily buy these. We can make these. Well, if you have one, excellent. If you have one, send me detailed pictures. Okay. I'm going to give fair warning that my connection is rather unstable, so I will try to do this. But let's see. You said shields and bucklers. Or I want to make sure that it's not giving me anything else. Shields and bucklers. View more products. Oh, okay, these guys. I am not sure how much force they would absorb. Again, it would not be bad to I'd try. I do worry because these are made essentially to use against it is very boffer oriented, but I let me put it this way: I don't think they would be unsafe. I do think I've made several sword frogs. I have to find them, but I'm also due to make another one, and I may have bought some waxed dental floss. So once again, the smell of leather and mint will be involved in my home because I have projects. I think they could work. I'm worried that we put too much abuse on them, like a thrust might damage it because it really is fabric. But the only way we can tell is to try it. If you were really interested, we could put that in rotation tray. But it's a similar design to that one. Well, we'll talk about how to make it so that you can make more and emboss them or something. Basic leather embossing is not hard, but if we are done here, which it looks like we are, I'm going to zap that, come live. Now I want to talk about something. When we talk about the weapons people carry historically, we have to. I'm sorry, I'm getting hot. I've actually sweated through my hair tie. Alrighty. Yes, I look like a madman, but it's a lot cooler. When you go out, there's the hair chunks falling out again. When you go out as a yes, please. Just either a stream or just do a pre-recorded video. Just record yourself talking about the difference in gin guards. Because I know the different guards, but I can't always associate them to the name. So a good reference like that would be an excellent thing. But we're going to go back. Part of the gear when we talk about the weapons we carry, the weapons we train with, is the situation we're in. So I have a modernized variant of a kit that might be carried by somebody who was doing either prospecting or fur trapping or had some other reason to be out in the woods for a while. They would have a folding wooden bow saw. I don't have one of those, but frankly, it's not terribly different from a hacksaw in concept. So I'm not going to worry too much about that. I may make one, but I have other folding saws. They would carry a light axe or tomahawk hatchet. This is a mouse hawk, so it's a little small for those purposes, but it is the tomahawk that's handy. They would carry 2 knives, and this is something that's not discussed much. But for your general would be a knife about this long or longer. And that would be your work knife. It would be part machete, part big rending things. And then they would have a neck knife like this that would be used for fine detail carving, for, detailed meat skinning, because the sharp edges are a commodity, just like anything else. And whereas for a functioning knife to function, it's not hard to maintain a work grade edge on your work knife, but to keep that really, really sharp edge going, which that felt like it had rolled. It had slightly from the last time I had to sharpen it in a hurry. So keeping your sharp knife secured and on you meant you didn't lose it. These are things. I think I've done that in earlier streams. Might do it again. Yeah, and like I said, that's because it's an educational video. It's better to do those pre-recorded, even though it's harder to talk to a camera without something on, because people will interrupt you, and while you're working the chat, it can interrupt your flow. So you may want to consider things like that. But they would also carry an interesting tool that set up the presence for other interesting tools. And it would come in a pouch like this. Now, this is obviously bootleg leatherette. If you feel it, you can tell. However, this was inexpensive enough I could acquire it. This has several names, including an auger. But this is a very special, rather sharp tool that is very similar to tools carried by folks heading out west. This allows for a couple really neat things. It has 2 functions. First, you can drill or auger out holes that you need in a large chunk of wood by taking a branch, running it through here to get the leverage, much the same way you would for a tomahawk. But you could also take this beveled end onto a larger piece of wood, hammer it with another piece of wood like you were batoning in, and then saw away around it so that you would have a tenon that could fit in the hole. Then you would cut a grip, cut a slot in it optimally, put a wedge in that slot once you've gotten it through, hammer that in, cut it all off flush. You add the wedge because it's highly likely you don't have glue. There are ways to make glue out of pine sap, assorted saps and tars, but this would let you make a maul or a large mallet, because this would let you make the handle. This would let you attach it to the head. You would find a good sturdy log, and you would put it through a good sturdy sawed-off chunk of log at the length, probably a foot, no more, to make a maul. And that would be the first step in building the kind of tools you need to convert a log setting into a home. And that kind of skill set is mostly lost. It is something I've been working to eventually reacquire and get my hands back to acquire, and then, of course, just share. Now, I wanted to share this little tool with you because it puts people in a different mentality when they see something like this and understand what it is. Because this is a part of building the tech tree for long-term survival in a given situation. Now, you can do things with a thing like this. You can do things to better your situation. Same way having a tomahawk, because remember, tomahawks are the multi-tool of the period. Especially, see, if this were a slightly different type and had a flat head, like a hatchet, it would be much more versatile. This is still versatile enough to do a lot of very good, very useful tasks. And understanding why did they train and fight with knife and tomahawk? It wasn't to be cool. It was because when they were out hiking, knife and tomahawk was what they had. And yes, Thesis, I'm glad to hear that you're adding that to your videos. Also, there would probably be a sharpener, but it also goes to affecting weight. So many times, if you have to carry a lot of gear as a civilian, when you are not in the military doing things, you don't want to necessarily carry overkill on your weaponry. So what you do is you carry something that's a tool and a weapon, and you become intimately acquainted with its use, which is how you get something like this. I wanted to talk about that because I know people look at what we talk about, historical fighting, from a perspective of the military. Okay? And that is a valid perspective. That is a thoroughly discussed and understood perspective. But you still have to realize that even in the military of that period, you had your line troops and then you had your support staff. You had cookie back at camp, you had somebody cooking. You had smiths and other working agents who were part of the battalion, but their primary job was to maintain the weapons and fix the weapons and maintain the gear and fix the gear and acquire gear, scavenge and scrounge when things weren't going like you want. So there are a lot of roles, and a big part of demystifying and almost deheroizing training in any art is understanding the practical side of it. So I wanted to talk about that. Now, there's one other thing I want to wade in on just a bit. Two broadcasters I respect highly, and I've mentioned on this channel for various different reasons. Scholagrim and Ramsey Dewey out of Shanghai, China. I respect both of these men, and they've had a bit of a dust-up. And the dust-up was over the commentary that Ramsey Dewey had to say about armed combat. And the response was, you cannot realistically, accurately train and impersonate isn't the right term, but learn from the styles in what we do with validity, because with the weapon it's too dangerous. And I have to respectfully disagree. And it is very strange to hear someone as talented and respected, and I highly respect him in his field, who's had so much time talking about the difference between MMA fighting and the guys who come out talking about there's the streets and debunking self-defense bullshit. This is somebody I respect. So I respectfully disagree with him, because it is possible to emulate and learn weapons training, both in firearms and in knife and live steel. If it's good enough for the Marine Corps to use techniques with, padded punji sticks and not punji sticks, punji sticks, but and other knife trainers, knife simulators as part of hand-to-hand training for safety, then that level of training has validity. You can train against weapons, but training against weapons is hard because weapons are force multipliers. That is the nature of a weapon. And I can understand that being uncomfortable, because he spent so many videos debunking people who, give me just one moment. I'm sorry. 1 second. Oh, I do not want AI any short running. Thank you. Just 1 moment. Okay, sorry. My nose was stuffed, and I didn't want to have anything unpleasant happening on screen. But to learn how to do things, you use simulations. In the past, they used wooden trainers. They used blunted weapons. Foils have existed for centuries to teach the basics of light swordsmanship. No, it will not tell you how to go through the pain. But if anyone thinks that fencing takes away all, the blunted tip of a fencing sword takes away all the potential harm, and cannot signify the dangers and life and death of it, I would cite my X-ray of having my ribs broken because a fencing sword caught in and ripped 5 of them from my sternum and cracked 3 of them. I don't talk about it all the time, but it hurts anytime the weather changes. You get used to it. That's real meal deal stuff. So we have to look at what we train both. There will be naysayers and competent naysayers, because like I said, I respect Ramsey Dewey's opinion. And from a position of refereed MMA style combat, there is little to I would never argue with him, because he knows what he's talking about. He is given so much for the communities to teach people respectful and debunk most disarmed combat. Now, I have, under stress, disarmed people. I have, under stress in real life situations, prevented a shooting. I would have probably been the shootee in that case. Armed only with a knife and quick reflexes at a very short range, and a hell of a lot of luck. But if I can do it, the professionals can. And saying that you can't train in that type of art and simulate real combat, I would invite him to reach out to Adrian Dinwiddie. Adrian Dinwiddie, also known as Sir Sabah, is an accomplished swordsman of various flavors, someone I used to associate with regularly way back in the day. and he does Bowhurt. I believe he was the American representative in Bowhurt. I would also uh, point him towards Amanda Hadd, Hadt, who is a talented swordswoman, and several other martial artists out there that I know who've spent a lot of time doing weapons training. Now, I do see a glaring hole in most weapons training. Not all, but most weapons training and most hand-to-hand training keeps it isolated in civilian life. Optimally, had I the resources, I would have tumble mats. I would have the kind of mats and the kind of flooring where, with the right gear, people could spar essentially all out, in that they could use more open-handed, martial arts, jujitsu, things like that. I mean, a lot of the wrestling and judo and things like that come from an origin of, okay, this is what you do if you've lost your weapon. That is where the arts need to eventually get. I may not be the guy to pull it off, but I can see that it needs to happen. My specialty lies somewhere else mostly. But it is a discussion that needs to be had, because while I would never want to fight someone armed while I'm unarmed, I have had to. Now, mind you, much of it was in institutional settings, but I can tell you that the behavior of someone who is special needs and very angry is not that different from the behavior of someone who is highly intoxicated and that angry. And I've had to deal with enough of those kind of people too. So it boils down to, there is something to be learned in nearly every art. And instead of dismissing any, because a lot of people will dismiss MMA saying, well, that's no good. That's only good against somebody in the ring. It's no good on the streets. And certain parts aren't as effective on the streets, depending on how ground game focused you are. Not a good idea on the streets. But, it can be doable if there's only you and only one guy. I come from a background and a training mentality of there is always another jerk. Pick a 7-letter word for that. But there's still validity. I'm not saying don't go train MMA, but don't think that will bypass the needs for tactical awareness, situational awareness, and having a strategy in place for escape and evasion, no matter how strong and tough you are. And can't tell you how many times I've heard that Tai Chi isn't street effective. I beg to differ. The problem with Tai Chi is, from what I've seen, 80 to 90% of it, because of how it is taught and how it is practiced, would indeed be useless. Now, the practitioners I know who have spent time training it can be effective. Or at least more so. It's very much like a Kido. It's a redirect style. Does that mean you can go up against somebody in an MMA ring and succeed? Probably not. But most martial arts styles are not geared with the mentality of fighting another high-end martial artist. At least in open-handed. A lot of them are geared toward your opponent is very likely not as educated as you are. And again, a lot of it's hit it and quit it if you're studying it right. So I have seen a small group of people use Tai Chi quite effectively. I I've seen a small group of people use Aikido quite effectively, and Hapkido. I've seen Hapkido used very effectively. The trick is training with stress training and with the practicality of mind, and then cross training. Because I truly believe no one style will give you everything. But Nick, you wrote The Simple Sword. Yes. And you say your style is something everyone should learn. Yes. Then is it good enough? No. It is a foundation and a Rosetta Stone. What I teach is from, so you've never been able to handle sword to being able to teach it to others. At the same time, I expect, I encourage, at times I demand, and I certainly affect that cross-training happens. That's why it's the Historical Fencing Guild, not the Nick Tockert School of Swordsmanship. Analyzing this and keeping it straight in our heads will make us all better. And I do believe if Ramsey Dewey wants to doubt that there's validity in weapons training, I hope he can find somebody near him who has the physicality and equipment to teach him properly and demonstrate that no, there is validity. I probably don't have the physicality. This is not me calling him out, and this is not me agreeing with everything that Skolagrim said either, because I often disagree with Skolagrim. I respect him. It took a while, but I do respect him. I certainly respect him far more than the guy I am no longer watching, whose name doesn't deserve to cross my lips because he supports AI instead of actual artists. But the practicality of matters and the importance of training should not be cannot be overexpressed. You've had to use Tai Chi in quite well. Tai Chi is also not your only martial art, and I think Tai Chi is a good. How do I put this? Tai Chi is a good broth in the soup of our martial arts. Okay? It is a great place to start. It can be a meal by itself, but people will eventually find it to be perhaps too fluid. So you want to throw some meat in there. You want to throw some veg, maybe boil some dumplings. And different styles will add different things. Because remember, if you're looking at fighting seriously, the open-handed style of fighting is a three-tier. It needs 3 tiers to stay up. It needs 3 legs. It needs a grappling style, it needs a striking style, upper body striking, and it needs a kicking style. To have a functioning, full-rounded martial knowledge, you need these 3 ingredients. For what we do, I would say bare minimum to have those 3 ingredients. You would need a small weapon, dagger length, a medium weapon, the sword. Pick a sword, and just about any one-handed sword will do. And then a 2-handed sword, minimum. This is bare minimum. You need a reach weapon, so probably a spear. You could also add thrusting and concussive. So having a small axe, one-handed light axe, okay, is giving you a small weapon. It's also giving you a concussive weapon. The axe is the most aggressive of the mass weapons, okay, because the axe is a hammer and a knife come together. incredibly formidable, even in this relatively small package, or in larger packages. But you need to be versatile. Now, I still believe you need to know how to handle a work knife. This is what I consider a work knife range: a short knife, long knife to short sword. So, which that carries from 2 foot to 3 foot, or about 2/3 of a meter. I can't remember because it'd be so many centimeters, but so 75 centimeters. To 100 centimeters to a meter, and then 2 meter. You need to understand those. You need to understand mass weapons. Okay. So let's go. 12-inch long, 24-inch, 36-inch. You should understand how to make weapons of this length go. Whether they're edged or blunt, you need to understand these range, because these are the things you're going to encounter in life. Beyond that, you have your 2-yard, 6 foot on up sticks, things like that. Make them go. And mass weapons. The other thing you have is in the melee weapon category, other. This is where you're going to find chains or rope darts or garrotes, specialty things, fighting with knuckle duster type items, kobutans. They fall in kind of this weird other, throwing things, throwing the weapons you're holding, things like that. You should understand how this works to be fully well-rounded. And I would rather deal with somebody, but often I train with people who are specialists. If I want to learn the sword, if I want to learn a fencing sword, a rapier, I'm going to speak to a rapierist. If I want to learn the saber, I'm going to speak to a saberist. Knife fighting depends on the style. You might want to talk to the pencil-lot guys. But I find practically it is far better to be a generalist. I know enough to make any of these given styles work. I'm not the best at them. I'm not the worst at them. I can make them go. They are skill sets. That skill is a tool in my box. That's why I wrote The Simple Sword the way I did. I read over dozens and dozens and dozens of fencing manuals across multiple periods, across multiple countries, multiple weapons within these manuals, and I kept coming to this block of this person says this. This is referred to as this in Gigante. This is referred to this in Agrippa. And you realize there are certain things they tell you that fit, that make sense. And as the styles change and alter through the travel of geography and time, you still find certain things. And they have more in common than they have opposed the vast majority of time. So you're looking at 60 to, sometimes 80% of manuals say something similar. What you want to do, at least in my opinion, is if they all agree, all right, if everybody seems to agree about this, or the vast majority of them agree that this is a technique, a stance, something that needs to happen, that's the stuff you need to know. That is where you want your foundation to be, especially if it transfers over to other weapons. Remember, the Chinese traditions are usually from the weapon out. Okay. So unarmed combat may look weird, but it looks weird because the motions they taught them are the same motions they would do with a weapon. How do I keep the muscle memory of wanting to hit somebody with a sword effective even when I don't have the sword or the knife or the axe or the mace or whatever? How do I make what I spend? Let's look. I'll use myself as an example. Every night I figured it out. 8 positions, 20 shots each. And then that's before I switch styles and I do some other things. So I throw, and that we with the addendums, between 200 and 300 shots a night, every night. About 20 from each of the 8 guards. I do some other things on top of that, but I do this every night. This is the basis of what I do. So I have certain body tics, for lack of a better word. I'm more likely, especially after I've been going to practices, to respond to a physical threat or inference with muscle memory because I'm not thinking. Okay? I had a situation where an individual went to slap me. And this individual cocked back, and my hand went up and stopped the slap before it could connect. And they started to yell at me for raising my hand towards them, and I informed them that I would not be struck again. And since, respect was established at that point, there was a disagreement. I don't remember what it was about. I may or may not have been provocative. I don't remember. I just remember that exchange. The reason I went like this was it was the proper parry. I didn't think. There was no thought. A hand came at me out, and I blocked it. Now, did I block it in such a way I could whip around if I had a stick in that hand? Absolutely, I did. It was a little different than some of the other things because it would work, but the gross motor action is the same. So you have this, and as you have this, you then have to build onto it. So you build a foundation first. And you want the universal foundation because that's most likely to be stable. If everyone is using the same foundation, you need to understand why. And you need to look at it. Why? What makes this so important? Everybody says it. Then, or almost everybody, why isn't he saying it? And that's where you get interest. That's where you get the questions you're asking when you are reading a manual. Because when you're studying a fencing manual, be it mine, be it, Gigante. And I know I say Gigante a lot. He's my favorite. I'm allowed to. You want to ask these questions. Write them down in your book. Why is he saying this? Circle it. Look it up. Then look up what other people have to say about it. If you can, perform the maneuver yourself. Do it in front of a mirror. See if it covers something. Do alternatives. See if something is going wrong. It's physical education. And I am sickened by how physical education is largely handled in this country. Physical education should be teaching you how to exercise, how to move, what your body does, what it won't do, what it shouldn't do. Martial arts, the study of them, be them weapon-based, open-handed, be them combatants, combatives, or something as fluid as Tai Chi. Internal or external, whatever you want to put it. You should be asking questions of the book, of your instructor when it's appropriate to do so. Asking questions of yourself. How does this feel? Does this work for me? Because any style is built from the perspective of the person who's writing it. To write for how to fight as a large person, I have to step out of my personal experiences and look at how the successful large people fight. And one of the things that gets discussed, and I do need to take a derailment here, is, Nick, you talk like you're so short. And then people meet me and it's like, you're not short, or very short, you're only a little short. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that my shoes are about that thick for medical needs. I'm not wearing lifts for, I'm wearing lifts because one leg is substantially shorter than the other, and because my ankles, I can't absorb impact like other people do. So I have to have very specialized shoes. It is not by choice. They would be much more fashionable if it was by choice. But in the martial arts field, especially the weapon-based martial arts, during my formative time, with the exception of my lovely wife and the just fencers, all the heavies who I spent a lot of time with were 6 foot plus. And it is hard to fight against somebody who's holding a sword that's almost as long as you are. It's almost as long as your wingspan. You've got one that's half your wingspan that's natural for you. And he can put his hand flat on your forehead and literally, guys, let me get this. I bumped that. Sorry about that. But literally, let me get there. Okay, fighting styles. Oh, I went too far. That's establishing a curriculum. There we go. This is literally what I had to deal with frequently. This is almost perfectly to scale of me and John Miner. He thinks it's hilarious. He loves this picture. I'm pretty sure he wants it framed up on his wall. So writing for big people, I had to think about. And then I had the experience of fighting some people dramatically shorter than me. It's very rare and it's very different. But I learned a lot from it. Actually, our own, Marie Morgenstern. I have to think what she goes by. Is shorter than me. So whenever I'd fight her, it was a very strange thing to have someone significantly shorter than me, almost proportionately shorter than me as I was of John. So I learned a lot about that, fighting from that perspective. But I had to go outside of myself. Now I'm something of a mimic. I can imitate most people's style, at least I could back then, enough to analyze it and teach against it. This got me in trouble in certain circles, and I am sorry if that upset people, but when you're in an educational group, you're supposed to teach people. And if you are constantly dominating everyone and they're not getting better, you're not doing your job. And see, Cindy says, everyone I can do push hands with is significantly bigger than I am. So you will develop opposing that. Dealing with people your size or smaller will feel strange. You may be weaker than you normally would be because of the angles, because you're going to be working at this ratcheted position to be where you need to be. And when you're on the other side, you have to be down here. And Foxy says, I'm used to being the short one in any given room when I'm not. It's weird. It really is. I understand that. I grew up in a town where most people were larger than me. It warped my perspective of myself. And I admit that freely. Because I have to wear my scars on the, open so that you guys can be comfortable with yours. But and see, you're learning to crouch lower to avoid being pushed backwards. That low center of gravity will save you. Seriously, that's a massive advantage that I didn't know I had when I was fighting bigger people for stability. And yes, absolutely. But like I said, it will be strange should you have the experience of sparring with someone smaller than you. It will be interesting. So I learn from that perspective. But I imitate the best I can. Every fencing manual that I've read is from the swordmaster, the individual's perspective. And very few of them have the mental flexibility, not mental, power, or, it's not better. It's not, smarter. It's malleability of thought to go, okay, this works. For example, Capoferra, Agrippa. These both work incredibly well for very tall, very slender fighters. You'll see this a lot. Fiore works well for a tall, slender fighter, although it can adapt a little bit. Because if anytime your stance is compressed, which is not a bad thing, being the cross section of your body is different. Many of these were not written for women, so the natural reach around for having a bust, having mass in this general chest region, can be challenging. And I actually got to experience that, much to my wife's humor, because I kept getting killed. And I'm like, why am I suddenly dying? I've been working out. I've been training. I should be better. Why am I dying all the time? And I figured out I was dying to the same shot from either side because my fourth was too compressed. I had developed my chest doing exercises, and it was enough that I had caught a hitch and I wasn't following through on my parry to fourth because I didn't understand. I would catch on the chest muscles, and right now check the chunk. But learning to reach around that it sat in my mind. I'm like, oh. And from them, I could help a lot of female fencers who were having the same problem and not sure why, because they had to realize they had to get around the girls. And some of them who were rather well endowed, because many of my students were the shorter, curvier variety. Not all in any way, shape, or form, but enough that it was common for them to have to learn to work around their body, which is not talked about in most manuals because they're not written by women. So we need to find what we need from that. So I started the foundation. I say, this is the foundation. This is just about agreed on by everybody. And I say, you change what you need to from you, because it's not me, my thing on teaching is not me just teaching. You will learn the Talkert way. No. I don't want you to learn how I fight. You shouldn't, because I have joint issues and I am physically malformed. That means some of the stances I take when I'm sparring, some of the ways I move, because my ankles don't hit naturally, and I have limb length difference, should not be mirrored. And a lot of times it's one of those, do what I say, not what I do, because your body works, or your body works in a different way, or I can't do that, so we'll do this instead. Okay? Finding that is how you find your fight. And when you find your fight and you find what's interesting, you can look at the foundations and go, I like this, but there's something off. And many times we can talk, we can say, what's bothering you? And I can make recommendations of, go see this, go look at this style, go watch this guy's videos, go listen to this lady. By all means, read, I think her name's Toby Beck's The Armored Rose. Everyone who fights with women should read that book. It is one of my notorious giveaway books. It is a book that comes in, I get a copy, and then it goes back out to somebody who needs it. Much like Way of the Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman, which is a very different book and isn't for necessarily this kind of conflict. But the chat has gone on a little bit. I want to go in there. And Cindy said, since the divisions of the competition are by weight class, I suspect I'll be finding people my size. I bet you will, and it will be a neat experience for you. And I really, truly look forward to hearing about how it went from your perspective. Foxy says, or at least closer. And Cindy says, yeah, I don't think they've announced the divisions yet, but it'll depend where I fall in the ranges. I understand that. Best of luck when you go. And yeah, the girls can get in the way. Get in the way for dancers too. That's why you rarely find busty dancers unless you are in certain adult areas. And see, I think that's tragic. And thanks. Because I have known some very elegant women of a more curvaceous build who can dance. But because of the way their body is distributed, they get hypersexualized. And I don't think that's fair. It's... And hey, Al. Rexwood says, I don't know, I found all my dancers to be quite busty. Well, it depends on the type of dancing. But that is a point. And there's a lot that's discussed that way. But then again, I don't believe that formal dance is as adjustable, perhaps, as martial arts can be. So we need to find our balance in that. Find the tools that help us do what we need to do. And if a style doesn't work for us because of our body, we should not hate our bodies for it. And we should not hate the style because it doesn't work. That's a waste of time. We should find a style that works as best, what comes as natural as possible to us. Because, as you said, many dancers can't be too busty or too curvy for certain styles. But if you look at some of the tango dancers, for example, they tend to be a bit more curvaceous than, say, your ballet dancers. And that isn't a matter of strength, but it is a matter of simple build stuff. I think we live in a world where people have no clue. They look at models of the supposedly super variety, the fashion models, and they look at ballet dancers, and they see rough build and rough weight apparent to them, and think, that they are the same kind of entity. And that is grossly miscalculated. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Ballet dancers have some of the most incredible physical ability of any uh, of the dances. It's just to be able to propel yourself with that much grace, that high in the air, or launch, catch, carry someone while you're balancing on tiptoe, on point. I don't. It's devastating. People just don't understand, and I wish more people did. Kitty goes on to say, I'm doing what I can to change that stigma. I've got a couple girls in my adult class who are pretty busty. Not going into specifics, but they are certainly curvy. One, I appreciate that because I don't need to know the statistics of these ladies. I do automatically admire their courage to do such a thing. And I respect highly that you are trying to help them do that. By if we look at stigmas that limit us, they should not be permitted to continue. It's something I firmly believe. And that's literally the basis of how I got started teaching. Because a whole bunch of new recruits came in, newbies, to learn to sword fight. And my instructor went through and went, you, and you come with me. And came to me and said, I can't waste my time on people not built for fencing. Do what you can with them. And for all his swine doggery, I do respect and thank him for that. Because it put me in a position to help these people. And to help other people find their fight. Will you win every bout? No. Will you win every dance contest? No. You may never get to gold medal levels of anything you pursue. Only one person can be the best. In my circle, it's usually Al. No. But you can still be. You understand what I'm saying? It can still be part of you. It can still be part of what you do. And it's honorable and it's respectable. So thank you. I know I ran late tonight, but I've had a lot to say that had to be said, I think. Next week, we will be at least doing a tertiary. Anyway, we will be doing our initial review of the Youth Longsword because it should be here tomorrow. I may shoot an unboxing video. I may do an initial breakdown of thoughts. We'll see. After the 13th, when I have gone to Region Con and come back, I will be doing a bunch of material to catch back up with my patrons, which is much appreciated. And I will be doing a lot of material to move the channel more forward than it's been, because of some health challenges that I've been dealing with, off screen. I have been limited, and one of the medications that I use, because it's proven to work very well for my severe needs, unfortunately has a side effect of weight loss. And because that has become so popular in certain circles, I have not had access to it to use that to keep my blood sugars balanced. So I've had to be a lot more careful with things, and I've had a lot of long-term symptoms of withdrawal coming off of it. So it has been very challenging for me to do a lot of things I normally would do, and it has been cognitively challenging because all these systems work to help keep, me rolling. I have spoken to my doctor, And I'm able to get a lesser amount of it for now to get me through until these shenanigans settle down. Because they need to up production, and there's going to be hopefully a crackdown on the people who are just abusing it for its side effects, because people like me really do need it. It proved to be incredibly effective in things. So I'm hoping with that and the weather, I'll be able to do a lot more. So with that, I want to remind you guys to like, share, and subscribe to this. Also, please do your drills, okay? I'm serious. The good weather is coming. Acquaintances are coming. The time of coming together and getting into mischief is coming. I hope to get more of the local fighters both on these programs and in recordings. So do your drills. Keep your eyes open. Be kind to yourself and each other. And as always, friends, thank you for supporting your local swordmaster. I will see you next week for another episode of the Historical Fencing Guild's live stream, and we will probably have something else popping up. We will see. It's a very busy week. I have a lot of con prep. With that, have a great night, folks. Toodles.